feel about your vote for Donald Trump now?
Well, I feel like perhaps I should have considered some other options.
I'm almost scared to watch the news.
A lot of his actions have just been disruptive and creating chaos.
I don't think anyone would have voted for him if they expected to see what we're seeing now.
I was voting for him based off of the economy the first time around, and I'm seeing a significant decline.
It's very scary.
But I understand that it's not a natural act for us to admit that we believed lies.
I voted for Trump 2 times. And I probably will vote for him a 3rd time. I will vote for him a 3rd time. That is absurd. It is ridiculous. It is crippling my business.
Hey guys, it's Will, and I'm here at the Mushroom House at the farm. And I got to be honest with you right up front. There's no way to make this video without it sounding like an I told you so video.
We have some big news right now. Donald Trump's tariffs on China are impacting farmers the most, and many of them have buyer's remorse for even voting for Donald Trump in the first place. One of the top products that is tariffed is the U.S. soybean, and U.S. soybean exports, according to CNN, are now subject to a total tariff of 135% because of the 10% tariff imposed in March, along with the 125% tariff announced last week. If you recall, back in 2018, the winner of the first U.S.-China trade war wasn't U.S. farmers, but rather Brazil, because Brazil became the world's leading soybean exporter. And since then, exports to China have grown 280%, while U.S. exports have remained flat. Many soybean farmers in the Midwest actually voted for Donald Trump. They come from states that are red states that voted for Donald Trump consistently, both in 2016 and in 2024. And Trump had long promised exemptions or support for farmers, but they haven't received any bailouts just yet. And some are now even having buyer's remorse because their businesses are going to suffer because they can't export the number of soybeans that they were before.
All right, I hate asking for help. I'm not asking for any handouts, but I'm a small business owner that is directly being affected by the 104% tariff that has been put on China. I import alloy wheels for cars, and I do somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 15 containers a year, which is a small business in regards to this industry. At 104%, I am absolutely going to implode and will not last 6 months. So with that said, I'm asking, is there anybody out there that has connections with manufacturing facilities, specifically alloy wheels, either in the United States or outside in these lesser tariffed countries like Mexico, Indonesia, Thailand, India? I need to find another source. I've emailed a lot of these companies and cannot get a response. And I just don't know if it's because I'm a small business or what exactly it is. So if anybody's out there that can help or shed some light, maybe provide some information that would be helpful, I would really greatly appreciate it, because if not, it's just a small business here that's going to go under, and I'll be back to digging ditches again, which I'm not scared to do, but it's a little harder to do with a wife, 2 kids, and at 45 years old. So let me know if you guys have any suggestions. It's very much appreciated. Thank you.
Some of his swing state supporters are expressing some buyer's remorse. They're sounding off in a focus group co-conducted by Axios. It's a group that consisted of 13 voters from battleground Michigan who voted for Joe Biden in 2020, but then for Donald Trump last year.
Axios reported that most expressed frustration and worry, using words like erratic, frightening, disruptive, and dictator to describe their concerns.
It's getting to the point where I'm almost scared to watch the news.
A lot of his actions have just been disruptive and creating chaos.
I don't think anyone would have voted for him if they expected to see what we're seeing now.
I was voting for him based off of the economy the first time around, and I'm seeing a significant decline.
It's very scary.
By like putting these tariffs in and terrorizing the world, now things are just going to get more expensive.
I feel like a lot of his actions have just been disruptive and creating chaos.
Hey everybody, Rich coming to you here at leavingmaga.org. I want to make a particular appeal today to MAGA Americans. I really don't believe that what is happening in our country now is something that you want. But I understand that it's not a natural act for us to admit that we believed lies and that we acted upon them and that we allowed those lies to shape our being and our personhood and our identity. And Leaving MAGA does not judge you. We do not ostracize those who have doubts. You are welcome with us at our community. And for friends and family who are out there who have friends and family in MAGA, we are here for you as well for support. Make sure that you follow us at our socials, livingmaga.org. Get on our newsletter. Make sure you're subscribing. Empathy is much more preferable than scorn. Thanks so much, everyone. Appreciate your support.
We want to have as many bees as we can to make honey.
Honeybee farmer Jim Hartman is a Republican who voted for Donald Trump 3 times. He has nearly 70 hives here and tries to get about 100 pounds of honey out of each hive every year. Now he's second-guessing his vote in part because he's worried about tariffs.
How do you feel about your vote for Donald Trump now?
Well, I feel like perhaps I should have considered some other options. The cost of equipment has just gone through the roof. With tariffs now, we're not importing equipment to buy anything like that because it just would be cost prohibitive.
How do you feel about paying more for things?
Well, you know, if you find someone who says, I'm happy about paying more for something, you point them out to me. People who already couldn't afford fresh vegetables, who couldn't already afford to put good food on their plate, are the ones that are really going to be hurt by this.
Did you ever think when you voted for President Trump that things were going to cost you more and you were going to lose money?
I never thought I was going to lose this much money, this fast.
It's more than just the tariffs. For the past 2 years, Jim has been selling honey to local schools and food banks through the U.S. Department of Agriculture programs. But after Trump took office, the USDA cut those programs suddenly as part of the federal government's effort to streamline spending.
For a lot of other local farmers around here, it was a major source of reliable revenue. For me, you know, it's going to cost me around $150,000 a year.
$150,000?
Yeah, roughly 50% of my revenue.
That's a huge hit.
That's a massive hit.
Hey guys, it's Will, and I'm here at the mushroom house at the farm. And I got to be honest with you right up front. There's no way to make this video without it sounding like an I told you so video. And I apologize for that ahead of time, but the truth is it's got to be told. Many of you remember before the election, I did several videos where I tried to speak to rural America, particularly farmers and ranchers, to talk to them about the ramifications of a second term for Donald Trump. And in several of those videos, I talked about the fact that if we were to elect Donald Trump and he were to impose a second round of tariffs on China, the results would be devastating. And if you think hard about it, you'll remember what we talked about. Number one, we talked about the fact that China wasn't prepared for the tariffs in the first Trump administration. They had a disease going through their hog population. They didn't have good stocks of row crops. So they were caught off guard. And they had to continue to buy some American pork and some American row crop products in order to survive the tariffs, especially the time of C-19. But we also talked about what's happened since then. The Chinese no longer have a disease going through their pork population and they're well stocked in pork. And in addition to that, they've reached out to South America and made best friends with the governments of Brazil and Argentina. And they are importing a lot of wheat and corn and soybeans from South America to the point where Brazil, which used to supply China with only 13% of their row crops, is now supplying them with over 43% of their row crops. And that relationship is just getting cozier and cozier. And we talked about the fact that if we were to impose another round of tariffs on China, it would be devastating for row crop farmers because since China is more prepared, not only would they be less likely to continue to buy row crops from Americans and from American farmers, they would also impose reciprocal tariffs of their own that would be devastating for row crop farmers in America. And guys, that's exactly what's happened. That's exactly what's happened. And again, this isn't an I told you so video, but it sure as hell is I wish you would listen video. Because on Friday, the Chinese told the 3 largest soybean distributors in this country that sell the beans that farmers raise in this country to China, you can no longer do business here. Your contracts are canceled, your licenses are canceled. In addition to that, they placed their own reverse tariffs on all different kinds of categories: pork, beef, corn, fowl, poultry. And remember what we said, those studies that have been done by the American Soybean Association, by the corn growers before the last election, that if these tariffs took place again, it would cost soybean farmers 37 billion metric tons of soybean sales to China and around the world. And with corn, it could cost as much as 80% of the corn sales in this country. And here we go. Top 3 soybean sales companies in this country, their licenses to sell to China have been canceled Chinese are saying, we don't want your beans anymore. And now we face the same thing, the same threat that we warned would happen before the last election, happening now to corn as well. And we're talking billions of dollars worth of corn sales. There's no way a paltry $526 million ethanol fuel program sponsored by the Trump administration in Iowa is going to make up for the billions of dollars in lost corn sales we are going to have because of these tariffs. And look at what happened today. I got up this morning, and while I was drinking my coffee up here at the farm, I listened to TikTok after TikTok of Trump supporters saying, well, he proved it today. The market's up 700 points. We're getting back all these gains. All these countries are coming to the table. And then what did we learn? When they asked the White House, you're claiming China wants to make a deal. Have you talked to China? No, we haven't. Have they said what kind of a deal they want? No, they haven't. Well, you're claiming South Korea wants a deal. Have you talked to them? Yes, we have. Have they talked about what kind of a deal they want? No, they haven't. And the truth of the matter is the market saw bullshit. And then what did the White House do? This afternoon, they announced that they're going to impose 104% tariffs on China, and the market lost every single one of the gains that it gained earlier today because there's chaos in the marketplace. People do not know how to plan for this, and this administration is woefully unprepared to do battle with the Chinese. I'm just telling you guys, this administration, when it comes to agriculture and rural policy, they're not playing chess. They're not playing checkers. They're sitting in the corner playing with themselves. There's no other way to put it, because everything they're doing from a policy perspective and an action perspective is failing. And now the chickens are coming home to roost. Why am I making this video? It's not to say I told you so. It's to say get off your butts. Republicans and independents and Democrats, all three of you. But I know the Democrats are doing the hard work. Get off your butts and make those calls to those Republican policy holders, those Republican office holders, those Republican politicians, and tell them to take back their power on these tariffs so that they can stop what's happening. There's no positive trend going on here, guys. I'm telling you right now, read the markets. Go out there and read the data from these conservative agricultural organizations that have no love for Democratic politicians, that are telling us that shit is going south in a hurry. Farmers have already taken out their loans. They've already put a lot of their crops in the ground. If there are no sales and there are no subsidies, it will be too late for small farmers and ranchers. So get up, Republicans. You Republican farmers, get up and make those calls. Don't allow your cattlemen organizations to speak for you. Don't allow the Farm Bureau to speak for you. You make the calls yourselves to these politicians that you voted for and tell them you expect them to take their power over these tariffs back and to stop this freight train before it goes off the cliff. Because left to their own devices, this administration is not going to stop it. That's your call to action. Will you heed it? I don't know, but I hope so. Because if you don't, J.D. Vance and all of his friends at Acre Trader are going to make a hell of a lot of money come the end of this year when the harvest comes in and there's no place to sell it.
And, you know, Republicans, I guess, are along for the ride because they don't have the spines to stand up and say, Trump, you gotta chill. They don't have the spine to stand up for their farmers, their own constituents. Several U.S. farmers and nonprofit orgs filed a lawsuit against the Trump admin last month, arguing it is illegally withholding Department of Agriculture funds or grants funded by the Inflation Reduction Act. And this is just beyond parody. So Kamala Harris would have continued these grants that would have helped farmers. Not only did Trump cut off these grants, which messed up a bunch of farmers' day-to-day operations, but then he placed tariffs that would further put farmers in a hole. By the way, what happened here is that farmers were told by the Biden administration that if they buy equipment, like a $90,000 piece of equipment, that the administration will help subsidize part of it or all of it to help their farms. Now, this was going well for a few years. Farmers were buying things. They were getting the subsidies. Farms were growing. It was great. Then, after Trump got into office, farmers were complaining that, hey, I just spent $120,000 on a piece of equipment and the Trump admin canceled my grants. Now I'm in the hole. Now I'm negative. Now I'm struggling. My farm may shut down. We saw a bunch of stories like this across the internet, on CNN, on TikTok, on Reuters, wherever you get your news. There were people complaining. I mean, lawsuits in the courts. 5 farmers involved in the suit were awarded grants from the USDA Rural Energy for America program to install solar panels. And I haven't read the story since it came out last month, but Without even reading all of it, I already know that after they bought the solar panels, the farmers didn't even get the grants. They weren't paid. The farmers have entered contracts with solar installers and incurred costs they worry will not be recoverable if the grants are not unfrozen. That is the worst type of scam. You had the person buy it already. They already allocated a bunch of money to installing solar panels, and then the Trump admin cancels those grants. And not all of them were green energy. Some of them were just for tractors or other farm equipment that people need. So I'm going to leave it there. Trump is not good for the economy. He's not good for farmers. We'll continue to demonstrate that.
They voted red and now they're seeing red. So here we are, farmers buried under false promises, a beef farm owner watching their livelihood collapse, and Michigan swing voters asking themselves, what were we thinking? They believed the hype and now they're leaving the aftermath. This isn't about politics anymore. It's about people waking up to the price of following a conman. Thanks for watching. If you've been seeing the cracks too, hit that like button, subscribe, and stick around because the regret is real and the fallout is loud. And trust me, more voices are coming. Drop a comment if you saw it coming. It will also help YouTube recommend this video to a wider audience. Just a quick note, full credit goes to the original creators of these videos. Catch you in the next one. Stay sharp, stay loud, and never stop calling out the FAFO.